We are pleased to introduce Dr. Steve Rook, Chancellor of Arkansas State University, Three Rivers, and a finalist for the UAHT Chancellor position. A first-generation college graduate from Southeast Arkansas, Dr. Rook brings a wealth of experience in higher education leadership. He earned his bachelor's degree from the University of Arkansas at Monticello, a master's degree from Eastern Illinois University, and a doctorate from UA Little Rock. His career spans roles at Cameron University, UA Little Rock, and 16 years of service at UA Rich Mountain before assuming his current leadership role. The topic for this afternoon's presentation is Building Bridges, strengthening UAHT's role as a regional catalyst for education and opportunity. Please join us in welcoming Dr. Rook as we learn more about his vision for UAHT's future.
Seems like I always have to adjust the microphone. Maybe it's just a habit. Well, I appreciate everybody being here today. Let me take a quick second to introduce somebody who's very important to me. Is no chancellor, or excuse me, no Vice President Thomason. It's not you. Sitting right down here, third row on the end is my wife Connie. She is certainly my better half. I'm thrilled that she's here, and she is my biggest supporter. There's a line in one of my favorite songs that even at my worst, I know she loves me. And that's the case. Even in my worst, I know she loves me. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here so much. I have visited this campus on several occasions. I think I've told everybody that. As a matter of fact, I think I see Dolly Henley right there. Representatives, good to see you. My wife and I have actually come to campus several times to see concerts in Hempstead Hall. At one point, I was at Rich Mountain. I was a part of the Southwest Arkansas Community College Consortium. It seemed like we always met here. So I am very familiar with campus, and I am very thrilled to be here today. One kind of disclaimer, I'm probably going to read a little bit more than I typically do. I do want to stay on script. I don't want to veer off too badly. So forgive me for that. If you've been in some of my sessions, you know that I can kind of go off on a tangent. So we will try not to do that with the presentation. We'll do that during the question and answer. But we will get started. One of the things, and this will definitely confirm that I am a nerd, I was on the debate team when I was in college. And one of the things that we would always do when we were putting together our cases, the very first thing you do is you set your definitions, right? So there we go. Let's see. Sorry. Okay, there we go. So definitions. I always like to look at definitions of things before we begin any kind of presentation or discussion. But the word bridges has 265 synonyms if you search it on the internet. And some of those are overpass, platforms, span, viaduct, scaffold. But you know, a bridge is also a part of a guitar. There's also dental implants that are bridges that you can get in your mouth. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. What I want to talk about as far as the synonym for bridges is connection. And I apologize because a lot of you have heard me use that word a lot today. But I believe that's what my role would be, and that's what we need to do to strengthen not only UAAH, but any campus. This has been my go-to during my career as the chancellor. Then another word that popped up was catalyst. You know, catalyst is one of those words where we all know kind of what it is, but not necessarily define it. And this definition really caught my eye A catalyst is something that speeds up or triggers significant change, progress, or action without being consumed in the process. And that really struck me because in higher ed, we do that a lot. You know, we get involved with things and sometimes we get consumed with them. But a catalyst is something that speeds things up. A catalyst is a person, an idea that accelerates improvement or transformation. And then leadership context, like your UA presentation, calling something a catalyst means it sparks momentum, removes barriers, enables others to succeed, and creates conditions where positive change can happen. And a lot of you heard me talk today about being a servant leader. If you look up the word servant leader, those last four things are in that. So a catalyst should have the same philosophy as a servant leader. Now, one of the things I really wanted to do is kind of let you know who I am. I have a good friend who says that, you know, to trust me, you need to know me. And for me to lead you, you kind of need to trust me. So just about me. In the introduction, it said I'm a first-generation college student, and I'm very proud of that. I had a grandfather. My mom's dad fought in World War II. He landed at Anzio. Anzio was the second bloodiest landing next to Normandy. And he came home. Now, my grandfather had a third-grade education, but he would always tell me, he had 3 grandkids, and he told us all, get as much education as possible because it's the only thing people can't take away from you. So that's my philosophy. I have a picture of my grandfather. It's right over my right shoulder in my office because he's up there looking out after me. I am a servant leader. I believe my job as chancellor is to put all of you, all of our faculty, staff, and students into the best position so they can do their best and help our students succeed. I am a native Arkansan, even though I did 6 years in Oklahoma. I was at Cameron University, and from 1988 to 1994, maybe giving my age away, but I had to do that time in Oklahoma so I could come home to Arkansas. Came home to Arkansas, the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. I'm a U of A system guy. Got 2 degrees from the U of A, and I spent 6 years at UALR, and I truly love the U of A system. Spent 37 years in higher education because my vice president, when I was in college, directed me away from being a lawyer. Mr. Thomason has congratulated me on that a couple of different times. I have been in 2-year colleges for 25 years. First 12 years were spent at 4-year institutions, one regional master's granting institution, and then University of Arkansas Little Rock, which grants PhDs. University of Arkansas Little Rock, at the time I was there, was the most diverse campus in the state of Arkansas. And it was probably 3rd largest at the time. Then I went to Rich Mountain Community College. It wasn't U of A Rich Mountain. It was Rich Mountain Community College, to the smallest institution in the state, which was the least diverse. And that was a little bit of a culture shock. But I stayed at Rich Mountain for 16 years. Told folks today that if Philip Wilson wasn't president, I probably would still be there. I say that way because Philip's about 8 years younger than me because I couldn't wait him out. Plus, I got the opportunity to go back to one of the places I consider home in Melbourne. 9.5 years as a CEO at a 2-year campus. Heavily involved in the community. I think everybody has heard me say that I'm on our Economic Development Commission for Hot Spring County. I'm on the executive board for the Chamber of Commerce. Just love being involved in things involved with the Chamber of Commerce in Saline County and Benton and Bryant. And, of course, everything that means the world to me. My lovely wife, Connie. I have 2 sons, Taylor and Grayson. Taylor is now 31, and I really have a problem with that. He shouldn't be that old. And then my youngest son, Grayson, is 26. So now you know a little bit more about me. I did get the question about hobbies today, which is a great question. I mean, that's kind of my level of questioning. But Connie and I, we like to travel. Love to go to concerts. Like I say, we've seen concerts here. And so with Dolly sitting there, can I tell the Travis Tritt story? Okay. So Connie and I came for Travis Tritt, and Chancellor at the time, Thomason, was not here. Representative Henley was having just a little bit of trouble with Travis Tritt's road manager, that he had agreed to do a meet and greet in the contract and then decided when he got here wasn't going to do it. Yeah. So she ran up and grabbed my arm and said, of course we had, met before and talked and all that sort of stuff. She grabbed my arm and she said, "Tonight you're my chancellor." And I said, "What? What do you mean?" She said, "I need somebody to back me up with this road manager." So Connie and I, we went back there as Dolly was talking to the road manager and to all the people that had signed up to be a part of the meet and greet. And there was a couple of people he really should have, but they said, well, he's, and this was before COVID. It makes sense now, but this was before COVID. Said that he's a germaphobe. He doesn't want to touch anybody. He doesn't really want to be close to anybody. And Dolly's going, but you signed the contract for a meet and greet. So they kind of gave us some parting prizes, and we left. But we had a great time. My opinion of Travis Tritt changed because of that. But we have really enjoyed coming down here and seeing our friends down in Southwest Arkansas. I always see Senator Larry Teague when he's here. Just a great guy. So that's a little bit of the personal. So we'll get into the meat and potatoes of it. I'm not going to read all that because hopefully most of you know that. That is the mission and vision that's put into your catalog. Anytime somebody has asked me today, what things do you use to make decisions? That's the first thing we think about. And next to that is what's good for our students. Because they're the reason we're here. If we didn't have students, there'd be no need for anybody in this room. So I always keep the mission close to make sure we're meeting our mission and making sure our students are successful. Who we serve two very vibrant communities with excellent campuses at Hope-Texarkana and a program in Old Washington. I almost went off on a tangent there, so let me get back. That's a great combination of rural and urban communities. We have first-generation students. We have working adults. We have veterans. We have high school students who are earning college credentials. UA Hope-Texarkana, from the information I saw, 60 programs from nursing to industrial maintenance, all designed to connect education with opportunity. Everything we do is guided by our mission, transforming lives, communities through accessible, affordable, and most importantly, relevant education that drives our regional prosperity. Core values. There's that first one, student-focused. The next one is belonging. We talked a little bit about this in I think the discussion with either the search committee. Some of this is starting to kind of all go into one, but with either the search committee or the cabinet, what is something that can help retain our students? And it's belonging. We have to do what we can to make them feel like they belong here and that they're connected here. Versatility. One of the things that community colleges can do when business and industry request programs, we can move quicker than four-year institutions in providing that. And that's something we need to cherish and that we need to keep doing. Quality and community. And I think those are excellent core values. The connecting bridges metaphor. When I talk about building bridges, I mean more than infrastructure. I don't mean a physical type of structure. It's about connections. And see, I already had this down here before any of my sessions today because I think I've used that term multiple times. Hope-Texarkana links students to opportunity, employees to skilled workforce, communities to share growth. The dual credit partnerships is just amazing. I mean, I thought that we had those things where I am currently, but what you're doing with your academy is just phenomenal. But the collaboration with business and industry, our K-12 partners, and our inclusive decision-making culture reflect a college that listens, connects, and leads. Hope-Texarkana is a bridge that helps our region move forward. Current landscape and opportunities, like all community colleges, we face challenges. Enrollment and retention volatility. And we all have heard about the enrollment cliff. There's going to be a huge decrease in the number of students that are coming into colleges. So we need to think about different ways and different people that we can address and get them into college. There are funding limitations. We only have really and truly two revenue streams: state appropriation and tuition, which really restricts our flexibility in what we can do. Rapid workforce change and AI. AI is here to stay, and we can either get involved with it, we can teach it, we can push it, or we can get swallowed by it. It is. It reminds me of when the internet, and I'm old enough to remember this, when the internet became something that everybody was threatened by. And we can't be threatened by it. We've got to learn how to use it, learn how to incorporate it on campus, learn how to incorporate it in our services, and work with our faculty that want to use it in their classrooms to make sure they understand the best practices of AI. By focusing on agility, collaboration, relevance, we can turn disruption into progress for our students and our communities. We want to bridge our programs to the workforce needs of this region. And you can see right there, we do that very well. Right now, healthcare, at my current institution, we have 200 nursing students on our campus, and we're still not meeting the demand. RNEC now probably has 300 students in RNEC, and we're still not meeting the demand. Nursing, CNA, LPN, RN are important programs, and we are doing what we can to meet that demand. Truck driving, Arkansas Trucking Academy. There's UA Hope-Texarkana, there's UA Cossatot, there's UA Rich Mountain, which it wasn't UA Rich Mountain when I was there. It was RMCC. And then there's this weird ASU school that has joined. It's ASU Three Rivers. And getting to work with Philip and Steve Cole, Philip Wilson and Steve Cole is, I wouldn't say this in front of them, but it's really great to work with them on that. The industrial maintenance, you can see the program. There's program at Texarkana, the HVAC. And I can tell you as a person of size, when the air conditioner goes out, I'm not happy. So we all know, I'm getting older, so I'm taking advantage of the health care. I keep Amazon trucks hot going up and down the road. And then the welding and fabrication, HVAC, medical assistant, and then maintenance and repair, general trades. And sometimes those programs are hard to really promote. Nobody knows what mechatronics is. Nobody knows what advanced manufacturing is. And even though I've struggled with this for probably 25 years, there needs to be some sort of term that we can use where new students, entering students, people who want to come back and get retrained, understand, that's where I can go to work at a factory or whatever that needs those types of skills. Our region's workforce needs are clear. We just showed them. Hempstead and Miller counties are seeking high demand in healthcare, CDL logic, advanced manufacturing, welding, HVAC. What my goal is, what my vision is when employers think workforce, they think Hope-Texarkana. I've used this analogy, I think, almost in every session. Long time ago, the president of the University of Wisconsin said that he wanted people to think of the university as their favorite tool in their toolbox. Got a problem, something happens, we can go to the university. We need new employees trained differently in a different skill set. UA Hope-Texarkana can do that for us. One of the things that we did when I first came to ASU Three Rivers, we visited a lot of plants and went through a lot of industry tours. And if anybody ever asked, well, can you do this for us? If we didn't have it, we didn't say no. We just said, not yet. And then we started working with them on what they needed, what their priorities were, to make sure that we met the needs that they were trying to fix. I am going to skip a slide because I'm just didn't like the way that looked. So what it was some data from Miller and Hempstead County about educational attainment. Basically what it shows, because I'm not sure, data just didn't look quite right. But it does show that there is a need. The state of Arkansas averages about 25% of its population with bachelor's degrees. Hempstead and Miller County right around 14%. So we need to help with that. Innovation in AI, I've already kind of hit on that. What I will add to that slide is that for those who've been sitting in my sessions, you know I talk a lot about personal touch, human-centered. We need to rely on technology as a tool, but being concerned about your fellow coworkers, caring about our students, doesn't come from AI. It comes from us reaching out to those people, taking care of our folks. And by folks, I mean everybody on this campus, to make sure that they're doing well and they're using the tools that they need. No college succeeds in isolation. That's one of the reasons ASU Three Rivers joined 3 U of A schools for a trucking academy. We couldn't make it work ourselves. We didn't have the number of students, but we received some grant money. The 4 of us came together and talked about starting this trucking academy. And automatically, the Texarkana site started showing, because they had a waiting list. They have a waiting list in Texarkana, which is good for Malvern, because at times we didn't fill trucks, we didn't fill classes. So that helped offset those challenges we had in Malvern. So it's one of those things, one of the big signs over the top of the Saline County Technical Center, and I'll get to that in a second, it says, together we make a difference. And we knew together that we could meet the needs of what's going on in Southwest Arkansas. Oh, the money. You know, sometimes it comes down to money. One of the things that I have done at ASU Three Rivers is have a very inclusive, transparent budgeting process. Budgets start at staff level. We send out sheets, people fill out, see what they had requested last year, then they put together what they want for next year. We bring those together. They justify anything more, but we bring all that together. We vet it through several different levels of groups. And when we finally come to a balanced budget, we bring all those groups back together and say, well, here's how we did it. If we have to take something out of somebody's budget, we meet with them first. What happens if we don't fund this? How is this going to impact your classroom? How is this going to impact our recruiting? So I firmly believe in a inclusive budgeting process. So one of the things we want to do is align budgets with our strategic priorities, pursue grants. I left something off of my resume, and I can't believe I did it. And I hate it because it's one of the things I'm proudest of on our campus. We just cut the ribbon on an $8 million new nursing complex. It's not in my resume. I don't know why. They're just Haven't been doing this a lot lately, so it got left out. We received $8 million from Senator John Bozeman in a federal appropriation. We have 200 nursing students and 11,000 square foot of space. And even the State Board of Nursing said, yeah, you got to do something. That's just not good for the students. So we were prepared to start a nursing building, and I got a phone call from our university relations guy, Shane Broadway. He said, you got anything you want funded? Yeah, I do. I got a nursing building I need to pay for. Did the paperwork, sent it in. Senator Bozeman's team took the ball and ran with it. And last Wednesday, we cut the ribbon on a $8 million nursing facility. And we received $500,000 from the Office of Skills Development as well for equipment. So we're excited. We've provided our students with a building that our program can be proud of. But we would pursue those kind of things. I received $5 million for a renovation of a historic theater in downtown Malvern on the historic registry from ANCRC. We received almost $3 million from the latest hired grants from the state. We do appreciate that. So those are some of the things I would hope to bring. One of the challenges I face at my current institution, and we have not really, even though we've been in Saline County now for about 5 years, we're making those relationships. But Malvern's not a rich community. There's a lot of people in poverty there. So big donors in Malvern, not necessarily the case. So we have really tried to scour the internet for those grant opportunities. I will tell the story. I told it, I think, in the cabinet meeting. You should never answer certain emails. You get an email from some prince that somewhere that needs $10,000 to get home or anything like that. But I was sitting at my desk one day reading emails and received an email from a guy that says, and even to this day, I can't believe I answered it. I represent an anonymous donor who would like to make a donation to your campus. Would you like to talk with me? So I printed the email off. I'm an old guy. I printed the email off, took it to a couple of my cabinet members and said, what do you think? Of course, their very intelligent response was, couldn't hurt. So I responded to the guy, sure, let's talk. We set up a Zoom meeting, and we received an anonymous donation of $200,000 for scholarships and support for our technical students. And it was just because I answered an email. So whether I'm lucky, I'm never that lucky at Oaklawn, but I know there is a little luck that goes with it. And we appreciate it. Still, to this day, we have no idea who the person is. Access, inclusion, and belonging. Mr. Thompson and I had a little conversation about this. And I know that the President Silveria is very committed to this. I am committed to this. I think we treasure our differences because it makes us better. And we support everyone. That's one of the reasons that I have found the love of community colleges. When I sit up on stage, and this really gets me when we have nurses pinning, and I look out and we see these people come across, and knowing that they're going into the healthcare industry and they have a career, not just a job, they have a career. But what's important is when they walk across the stage and when they've been sitting at home studying, their children see them. The children watch them walk across the stage. We had during COVID, once again, I'm off script, but during COVID, we had a drive-through graduation. And that may have been the most entertaining and fun graduation we've ever had because people would drive through to get their diploma and their kids were sitting in their laps. One guy actually hired a limo and had his entire family drive through the graduation to get his diploma. We're changing lives, not just the people who grab and take the diploma, but it's all those around them because those kids who see mom graduate with a nursing degree, or dad, I need to quit generalizing that. Nursing, we see that increase every year of males in nursing. But now those children know that they can do that, and that's the path that they should take. So that's why I think access, inclusion, and belonging is incredibly important for all community colleges. Now, I've been asked this a couple of times: what are your goals for UA Hope-Texarkana? And I think these are all just some really canned goals. I hope we can increase enrollment and retention. You know, it's easier to retain them than it is to recruit them. To be an active member of the Southwest Arkansas Workforce Development Board. I sat on that when I was I was at Rich Mountain Community College. Grow our foundation resources, strengthen community engagement, and maximize the resources from the UA system. Some of you probably know that my campus converted from College of Ouachitas to ASU Three Rivers. And it's a whole long story that maybe one of these days I can share with you. It was an amazing process. I got a phone call. I felt like my job was to get the information for the Board of Trustees to make this decision. And being a good friend with Chuck Welch and having a good rapport with Dr. Bobbitt, a trustee would ask me a question. I go, okay. I pick up the phone and call them. And it got to the point where I'd call them so much, they both said a day apart, Rook, we've answered all the questions. We got all the information that we can give you. You need to make a decision. So I relayed that to the board. All right, guys, they've had enough. Dr. Bobbitt suggested that I put the board in a van and come meet the executive staff in Little Rock. So I had every board member. We got in a van and drove from Malvern to Little Rock and met with the U of A system staff. We met with the ASU system staff and our board. And I could have worked for either one of those gentlemen. Like I say, I'm a U of A guy. That's where I was kind of born and raised. But our board made the decision that they felt more comfortable with the ASU system. Also, it was kind of cool that we would be the first institution west of Little Rock in the ASU system. So that's really how that decision was made. But what we have found, reason for that story, what we have found through that process and now being a part of the ASU system, there are resources for our institution that we could not have afforded to have. We have a dedicated, lack of a better term, lobbyist. We have people who represent us at the Capitol very well. You know, Shane Broadway's our guy. Melissa Rust is the U of A. And I love Melissa Rust. She is just awesome. All of us have gone through an ERP conversion because it was a cooperative buying situation. We could all get it together if we all went in at the same time. And I will tell you, no ERP conversion is ever good. They're all bad. But you get through it. One of the fun things I love about community colleges, if you've done it 2 years in a row, it's always been done that way. Oh, yeah, that's the way we've always done it. So that's some of the goals that I have for UA Hope-Texarkana. My main goal is to get out, make connections, learn this area, connect with people to make sure they understand what we do and to deliver the message of UA Hope-Texarkana and the important role we play in this area. UA Hope-Texarkana has what it needs to survive, and it has what it needs to thrive. Dedicated people, number one. Strong partnerships and a deep sense of purpose. We want to serve Miller County. We want to serve Hempstead County. We want to be an integral part of this part of Southwest Arkansas. Together we can do these things. We can build those bridges and make those connections. We can build a bridge where our students can come here and we can bridge them right to an employer, or we can bridge them right to the four-year institution that they want to attend. I'm a champion for community colleges. We do amazing work, and we should never doubt that. So with that, I will close and start answering questions.
Yes. Recognizing that training and the use of AI is important, is going to become more important. How do we balance the appropriate use of AI against possibly the use of AI to do one's work as a student to kind of just get off a little easier?
Sure. And that's kind of the challenges of AI. What I believe we need to do is train our faculty how they need to use it. I would like to hear from the faculty how they would like to constructively use it in their classrooms, bring in the best practices. I can tell you, I'm an old guy if you haven't noticed, so I'm probably not the technological expert. By gosh, we can bring somebody in to help faculty decide how or if they want to add it to their curriculum, what kind of tools they want to use out of it. Also, I've discovered that if you let's say I wrote an article and I put it in Chat GPT to edit, clean up, format, all that sort of stuff. At that point, it becomes a part of Chat GPT. My dissertation was on academic dishonesty. So if you run something through Chat GPT, it maintains it, and it could somebody could go in and check for academic dishonesty. Well, they would pull off of that. So to me, I mean, it's something we have to be very careful, but we can't be afraid of it. I remember when we got our first computer in graduate school. Only one person in the office could use it. That was the secretary. The rest of us had to stay away from it. So we've come a long way to the point that, I've got a computer in my pocket now. So AI is going to be the same thing. To me, AI is the next big thing that we have got to wrap our head around. Anybody else?
I'll ask a question.
Okay.
All two-year colleges. What's your thoughts on incorporating some type of athletic or sports programs into the two-year college systems throughout the state, specifically here? I know for a fact funding is always a problem, but it's a vital part of each and every community that you serve.
Sure. Absolutely. And we are in our third season of baseball and softball at ASU Three Rivers. Every state around the state of Arkansas, all their community colleges have athletic programs. And there are some, you look in Mississippi, Texas, there's one in Oklahoma, there's a couple in Missouri, a couple in Louisiana that have football teams. Now, I would not suggest football because it is incredibly expensive in more ways than one. But, excuse me, the state of Arkansas is behind in that aspect. Kind of like we were a little behind in developing our community colleges. So there is a place for college athletics at two-year colleges. And I just said we're in our third season of baseball, softball. We spent a year researching it, investigating it. We watched UA Rich Mountain, National Park, SAU Tech, and I'm trying to think of the other one, Cossatot, UA Cossatot. to see how they handled it. And every institution has handled it differently. You have to have a revenue stream if you don't get support from your foundation for scholarships. Our coaches and our athletic directors have to raise $50,000 a year just for us to make budget. You have a limit on how much E&G money you can move from your hard dollars to athletics. I think it's 2% of your tuition revenue, I believe, is the threshold. Everything else you've got to raise and come up with. UA Rich Mountain has done it with renting textbooks, and they took after UA Hope-Texarkana on that. And they also had the money to build residence halls. So they're getting that revenue. Every student who comes to play athletics at a 2-year school is worth 1.5 FTE. Usually somebody comes with them. They bring a girlfriend, a boyfriend, friend with them. Or they're taking more hours than normal so they can make sure they transfer to that next level. But you have to look at facilities. You have to look at budget. You have to look at revenue. You can move auxiliary revenue, which is the textbook rental, food service, residence halls. You can move the profit that you make in that. You can move it to athletics. We don't have any. I'll need to take that back. Do a qualifier. We don't have residence halls on our campus. We made an attempt at it and decided not to do it. Our athletes live at Henderson State. And we're fortunate enough that when Trey Berry started, who's a friend at Henderson, I went to him and said, Trey, we're sending 55 students a year, live in your residence halls. Is it possible for us to keep a little of that revenue? That sounds fair. So we get 10% of the housing revenue of the students who live at Henderson, which is, ends up being about $30,000. But, we talked about the athletic director and coach having to raise 50. Well, there's over half of it. We are supported through the Foundation for Scholarships, but there are so many moving pieces of that. Not saying it's impossible. I don't know enough about baseball facilities in Hope or Texarkana. I do know that there is a club, and club may be the wrong term for it, but there is a thing called Texarkana Postgrad, and we play them 2 or 3 times a semester. But it's kids from this area who finished their high school career and still want to play, and that's a kind of like an IMG camp. Seniors can play, and then after they graduate, they can play. So there is a demand. They have a huge team, but you have to look through all those things. We just felt like it was in our best interest to do it because it would increase our enrollment. It would help give access to students who would not necessarily have come to us. This year we had a coaching change this summer, which that's always had a friend tell me one time, once you hire a coach, you got to start thinking about firing them or who you're going to replace them with. So we had a coaching transition. So we dropped a little bit in baseball. We had 57 last year in baseball. We have 39 this year, hoping we can get some mid-year transfers. And then we have 17 softball players. So we have 58 new students on our campus that would not have even thought about ASU Three Rivers had it not been for baseball, softball. And you would be amazed at the number. And I know I'm focusing on baseball, softball because that's what we did. And the reason we made the decision on baseball, softball, there's a lot more people on a baseball roster than there is on a basketball roster. You got 15 for basketball. We had 57 last year in baseball. One of the things that I'm excited about that we did, we had there are 9 of the, let me back up. Of the 22 two-year colleges, 22 two-year colleges in the state of Arkansas, 14 now have athletics. 9 have baseball teams. Nobody knew about us. Nobody knew that we had athletics. How many in here knew that National Park College won an NJCAA national championship in basketball 2 years ago? They had 2 7-footers that are now at a D1 level. the lack of arms is one of the reasons we had our baseball showcase. We actually had somebody on the radio say, "Oh, UA Rich Mountain, where is that, Alabama?" So we put together a baseball showcase and tried to get state attention. We had it, held it at Dickey Stevens Park. And we had 9 teams. So you're talking about, just say 50 times 9 is 450 players that got to play on a professional baseball field. And we had state attention. So the reason we did that was to get more attention for our baseball, softball. I think there will be more institutions add athletics, but it is something that you've got to make sure you cover all those moving pieces before you jump in the deep end. That's probably way more than you ever wanted to know, but it has added a lot to our campus. Our baseball team and our softball team, they volunteer for everything in the community. Our softball players were the waitresses at our chamber banquet one year. And they said, "Okay, well, we're going to start serving the food." Well, one of the softball players, I was the very first person served because the softball players came to serve me first. Well, membership has its privileges, I guess. I said, somebody said, "Well, how did you get your plate first?" And I said, "Well, I'm their number one fan." And one of the little girls goes, No, we think Mr. Pat's our number one fan. You're number 2. Okay. I'm on the top of the list, so that's good. But they have added so much to our campus. They volunteer for everything. They help with everything. It just adds a different component to campus life. We now have athletic stuff in our bookstore. I used the excuse to buy a whole bunch of Nike tennis shoes. My wife's not laughing at that, but I did. So it's been a great experience working with all that. But it's something you just don't jump into without investigating. What other questions? Yes, ma'am. Or yes, sir. I'm sorry, I can't see you in the dark. Yes, sir. I see the beard now. Okay.
Okay, hopefully I can be heard better. In terms of job training and the opportunities that are out there, where do you see emphasis being placed on job training? What fields, what areas of study would you tend to concentrate on?
I would concentrate on what our business and industry wants us to concentrate on. They're the ones who know the skills that they need, and we're the ones to deliver the training for those skills. So if it's Cooper Tire, if it's anything else, we'd like to meet with those people, get them on our advisory boards, and get their input into what they need and what's coming next. What's the next big thing in business and industry and construction and manufacturing? How is AI going to impact our businesses? But that input, I want to hear that input from them. And that's one of the things I've said in a couple of different sessions. The question is, what does your first 6 months look like? For 6 months, I sit down and listen. Tell me what we need to do. Tell me what works for you. What's your biggest demand? I mean, from the slide I showed, UA Hope-Texarkana right now is doing a pretty good job in training folks in those top demand occupations. But we're not, nobody can serve them all. So tell us what we need to do.
Dr. Rook, I'm Dolly Henley, and thank you and Miss Connie for coming and sharing in so many of the concerts at Hempstead Hall. I enjoyed that through the years. But my question is, as the first director of Hempstead Hall is very important to me and to our community as a whole. That the theater over there, the conference center, is unmatched, as I understand, throughout the state of Arkansas.
Yes.
What is your perspective on performing arts in our community, and how does it tie into the 2-year college?
Well, and this has probably come as no shock to you, but that is one of the things that makes this position very attractive. At Cameron University, I was the director of student activities. So I got to put on concerts. In graduate school, I was involved with the Bob Hope concert. Now, all you young folks, I'll have to tell you who Bob Hope is later. But it was a big deal back in 1985. And as I mentioned to Mr. Thomason, chancellors, and it's true across the board. One of my favorite sayings, and my PR person wrote this down, is that president and chancellor on every campus is the person who knows the least. It's the people who, but anyway, but every president and chancellor has that little thing that they want to be a part of, that they want to get their, dip their finger into. And that is something I would love to help take care of, to do. That's a real carrot out there. So I would place a priority on it, and I think the first thing we need to do is look for another dolly. And then we need to start moving forward. I mentioned in one of the other sessions, fine arts and cultural activities is no more than bringing something to campus that people are not familiar with. People don't necessarily go from Hope or Malvern to see the symphony. Bring that in. But you do that on the back of the things that generate the revenue. And I think you told me this. You do the Marty Stewart's, Travis Tritt's, Clint Black's, the contemporary Christian acts right now are hot everywhere. And I know that sounds strange, but you'd be amazed. At ASU Mountain Home, they do a lot of contemporary Christian because they fill their theater. They make a lot of money off of it. So we need to put that strategy together to get Hempstead Hall back up and active. And I have a little experience at it. It's been a while, but I sure would like to stick my toe back into that. So. And I'll go ahead and tell this Hempstead Hall story. We are renovating the historic theater in Malvern. The Ritz Theater is on the National Historic Registry, and two people in town gave us the money to buy the theater, gave us $100,000, and it was in pretty bad shape. It had been showing movies, but it was one of those old grand movie halls where it was open, balcony was open, and the owners had put a wall right down the middle of it to make two long, small theaters, and had walled off the balcony to make a third theater. So we opened it back up, and all of this is through the help of ANCRC. Opened it back up, 420 seats. And we have, for anybody in here been to Oaklawn Event Center to see somebody? They have that big video board. Well, mine's not quite that big, but it's 18 feet, 4K, seamless video board. My IT guy came to me when we were trying to put together the proposal for that phase. We have been working on this theater now for 7 years. And he brought me the quote for this video board. And I said, Jacob, I'm going to have to go before ANCRC and justify that. I said, what's our alternatives to a video board? He said, it's only about $2,500 more than a projector. And is Marco still around? There he is. He can probably tell you about how well projectors work sometime. I'm not a fan of projectors. If we can replace it with something other than a projector, let's do it. So he told me it's only $2,500 more. He said it's a lot less work. Those seamless panels, they're 1-foot blocks, and they pop a tool on it, pull the block off, unplug it, take it off, pop another one in, and it's fixed. I mean, it's pretty amazing. So, and we've also taken in the building next door to use as extended lobby. So hopefully we're going to be able to bring some stuff like, we don't have nearly as many seats as Hempstead Hall, but it's a game changer, I think, for downtown Malvern. We even went as far as Malvern National Bank gave us the money for the marquee, and it is a straight up work of art. It is neon and it moves and it flashes. But I will tell you, I learned a lesson with that. Neon doesn't do well in Arkansas weather. If it gets too cold, it cracks. If hail hits it, it breaks. I've got 4 breaks in it right now. And this is going to be the 5th time we've had somebody come fix it. So we're going to try to find the money to retrofit it for LED. We've gotten approval from the state since it's a historic building. But that's kind of a pet project I've been dealing with. And it's a lot of fun. Like I say, it's one of those things that you can testify to this, and they can probably testify about it for you. But all chancellors, and I have tried, it's like, Brian Berry, I've known him since, what do we say, 1997? Brian Berry is a guru when it comes to student affairs. I was in student affairs for 18 years, so I think I know a little bit about it. But I would not come in here and try to tell Brian how to do his job. And so, I was a former academic officer, so I can do this, this, and this. Oh, okay. All right. So that's kind of the way I operate. Yes, ma'am. Okay. I'm sorry.
There we go. I'm sorry. I won't take too much of your time.
No, you're good.
Down here in Southwest Arkansas, law enforcement is kind of hard to get people, new law enforcement officers, good quality candidates to come in. Any thoughts about maybe getting with CGI, bringing some other courses down here? Maybe we can start trying to get more of the community involved and start building our next candidates for Hope PD, Hempstead County here on the campus.
Yeah.
Things of that nature.
Definitely. I think this could be a venue for that. One of the things that's going on at our Saline County campus is we have anywhere year-round 40 to 60 law enforcement officers on that campus going through ELITA training. So we feel like they're pretty safe. It's surrounded by cop cars, and we got folks walking around taking care of that. So, yes, there are models in place where we can do that. Black River Tech does a lot of it. We're doing it in Saline County. And we just work with ELITA and see what we could get down here. You're welcome.
I think that's going to be it.
Okay, great. Well, I appreciate y'all having me. I'm so honored to be here. UA Hope-Texarkana is an amazing place. You really have a jewel down here. And once again, thank you for having me.